Da-na-na-na-na-na-na podcast.
Batman.
Podcast. Podcast. Podcast.
Got both of us going? Oh, yeah. Not going there. There we go.
We are recording right now, though, so.
What?
Yeah,
thought
we're totally on now.
Oh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of Masters of the Multiverse. Those of you guys that have stuck through our first couple episodes, thanks a lot for that, and looking forward to keeping going. So, my name is John.
I'm Kyle.
And we are back now to talk about the news of the day and do a little bit of a recap on the new Birds of Prey movie that just came out. So if you haven't seen that yet and you still want to without hearing anything, we are going to talk a little bit without spoilers first, and then kind of get into spoiling everything there is about it.
Attempt to talk about
it without spoilers. Not always easy. But yeah, once again, thanks for everybody for listening and tuning in. And here we go for another week. So big thing I wanted to start talking about, Kyle, was a bunch of trailers came out during the Super Bowl this past week, and we had recorded before the Super Bowl last week. So I want to kind of run through some of that stuff. First of all, how absolutely ridiculous does Fast and the Furious 9 look?
Oh, it's way over the top.
Yeah, like we talked about it. We talked about it in our 2020 preview show, but they're super it seems like now they're super self-aware of how ridiculous they are. And that's actually kind of cool. Like I'm kind of pumped up about that. But a couple of things I was thinking of, obviously in this, they're building up John Cena to be Toretto's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so do you think that's like an adoptive family sort of thing like he has with everybody else, or do you think this is like an actual flesh and blood brother?
I think it's an actual brother because they brought Jordana Brewster back, and she's in it quite a bit, and she's obviously Brian's,
and that's Mia, so that's his sister for those who don't know.
And that's Brian's wife, and he's no longer around to make these, so with her being back, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a legit brother.
Okay, so I was thinking,
I do think they're working up towards just John Cena versus The Rock.
Interesting. So, I mean, that would be super cool because obviously they both have their wrestling background and stuff. But I was kind of thinking along with that maybe it's like a foster family situation. Like maybe they grew up in the same home, and maybe it's just because I myself have such a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that they look nothing alike and they like it's just two giant men that they're now just calling brothers.
What I think happened, because I did see there's a quick clip in one of the trailers, and I think it was in the Super Bowl one, where you see a stock car rolling around.
Oh yeah.
So what I think happened is Dom went to jail. When Dom went to jail is when John Cena went off the rails.
Interesting.
That's what I'm thinking happened.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. And so I kind of had this idea, and what obviously the Fast and Furious is building towards insane things, right? But how interesting would it be if the next trailer comes out, there's a huge action sequence at the end, everything cuts, and like a post-credit scene on a trailer, we see Paul Walker's Brian walk back into a room with them just like Han did at the end of this one.
How would you do that, though?
They've been talks about them using his brother and CGIing the face to look like him to bring this character back. And can you see, like, I absolutely 100% see them doing something like that.
Maybe. I mean, I hope not, but they could.
I mean, it kind of...
His send-off in whatever that was, 7, yeah. I thought was really good, so I wouldn't want... It's kind of like touch the base on, like, the Robert Downey Jr. thing, like, when you send them off in such a good way that suits the character, I don't think bringing them back.
Yeah, why not leave it? But the thing is, this series has sent itself off 10 times, and then they just keep bringing it back. So I just think with the way they're bringing Mia back into it, who is obviously Brian's wife now, how do you bring her back in without, having...
personal. It's her brother. Brian doesn't know about him.
Yeah.
They got a kid, so she's probably just going to be like, yeah, I got to go.
But they're all family now, Kyle.
Well, they weren't even in the last one.
Familia.
Were they?
So no, not at all.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's interesting. And then obviously, I mean, the clear next step for this is Fast and the Furious 10 in space.
Probably.
Yeah, come on, right?
Yeah, Vin Diesel was
Lamborghinis on the moon.
Yeah, he's apparently talking about turning it into like a split movie like they've been doing with like Kill Bill and Harry Potter. And
I understand some of that if there's a story device for it. Like with the Harry Potter things, the movies were too... The last book had so much in it that it was hard to condense into 2 hours. That's fine. But you are making up the story for this. You can either make it 1 or 2 movies. You can have 10 and 11. You don't have to have 10-1 and 10-2.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously they're just trying to milk this thing for everything it's worth. How this thing is still, like, don't get me wrong, I watch every one of them. I don't know why. I don't know how they get me in every time, but it makes tons of money. So
yeah, these things are making huge amounts of money, and that's kind of the crazy thing too. Like 7 is still, and I mean, obviously off the back of Paul Walker dying so recently and stuff like that, people wanted to see it, and granted, it was a really great and fitting send off for him, and I thought that was fantastic. But that movie's like in the top 5 of movies all-time box office.
Well, yeah, the Chinese market's huge. It's huge in the Chinese market.
It's insane.
So yeah, and that's what most movies are kind of gearing towards now.
Yeah. So I guess we can just end this by saying, when will Fast and the Furious die?
Yeah, I don't. Well, and I don't know how much like of a spin-off is The Rock going to do. Was it like it didn't seem like it was a one and done. It seemed like they kind of were leading into more stuff. So
they keep bringing people back from the dead. When do they bring Gal Gadot's character back? Like she's huge now. How cool would that be? Like all these things that they're doing, bringing Han back.
Han's bad. 100%,
you think,
100%. The same thing that Idris Elba's character
You
was.
think with the whole big justice for Han thing that they're going to bring him back in and have him flip to be a villain?
Oh, yeah. No, because he did. I think he died, just like Idris Elba's character did. And then that company brought him back to life.
Aetion or whatever it is.
Yeah, Aetion or whatever.
So you think that's the central big bad behind all of it.
That's how they get into Dom's.
And the only thing that would make sense would be Ryan Reynolds secretly being the leader of that organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think Ryan Reynolds is the bad guy because out of nowhere he murders like 30 people at the end of the Hobbs.
Yeah, but I mean he is a special agent just like Hobbs is, right? And
yeah. So
anyway,
he's also not Deadpool.
Yeah, okay, but he is. That's the problem. Every movie Ryan Reynolds is in now, he's Deadpool.
Yeah, so
he's Pikachu Deadpool. Anyway, we went over that already, but
they can go on forever with these if they needed to.
They can and probably will. So another thing that got shown during the Super Bowl was another quick trailer for James Bond, the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, Bond 25. There isn't really much more to say about this, is there?
I don't think they're going to show much more than they have to. I mean, it's James Bond. Everyone's going to go to it. So,
Rami Malek was shown in this trailer.
I've seen him before, so I feel like he's been in a trailer before.
Yeah, probably.
So,
but he's good. Like I like him. He was Freddie Mercury.
I'm trying to figure out what relation he is to James Bond, but
yeah, because everybody's got to be related to him.
Yeah.
But so not much more to say about James Bond, I don't think.
I did like how they don't know him anymore. Like he's like the play on Bond, James Bond, is because they actually don't know who he is.
Yeah. Or is that guy so surprised that he's back?
Maybe, but
it could be read either way, right?
The way it played to me was like he was like Bond, and you saying it like, yeah, I'm like Bond, and the guy just kind of stared at him like, okay,
that's a total different view than what I had on it. And that's super interesting. I kind of hope that's what it is. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna see it.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna see James Bond, right? Like I have no problem with that. But I guess we'll wait and see what that's about.
Is this Daniel Craig's last Bond?
This is 100% his last one. If he had it his way, he would not be doing this. In every interview, he's just like, I am done with it. I'm sure they backed a dump truck full of money up to his house. Anyway, you had some stuff for us on the Black Widow trailer.
Yeah, I just obviously I'm like this is the comic book stuff. So
this is the next Marvel movie that we're gonna get. So this is the follow up to the end of Phase 4 that technically ended with Spider-Man: Far From Home, and I gotta say, like the more I see about this movie, the more pumped up I'm getting for it.
Well, for being, as you put it, as hating women movies as I am, this is a movie I've been wanting to see for about 10 years now.
So this running joke that I've tried to start has now actually started to aggravate Kyle. So we'll see how long we can keep this going.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Just the odd clips of I think Taskmaster looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope they don't do the one and done with Taskmaster.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more comic accurate costume with the skull on the mask and stuff like that. But that's nitpicking, we haven't actually seen the whole... I
saw a daylight shot of it, and the silver actually looks a lot more like
skull
when it's in day, because it's like a blue helmet with a silver skull on it, so it's really noticeable. But we've only seen night shots of it, right?
Fair enough.
But yeah, just everything about it, whether it's male, female, clone, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just
because we don't know who Taskmaster is at this point, if it's a new character, if it's going to be a big reveal, because we've seen nothing about who's actually under that mask.
Well, there's one guy who was cast in the movie, and this is who I was talking about before. And he hasn't been seen in any of the... Every other person's been seen in the trailers except for this guy.
And who is this guy?
OT. I can't pronounce his last name because it's kind of... I'll show you how it's spelled. I don't even want to mispronounce it.
This right here is podcasting. Oh,
Yeah, so
that's one you don't even want to try.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So I don't want to. Yeah, but he might be the guy who's playing Taskmaster. I don't know if that's who they're going to turn out and be. That's who.
Yeah, there may be a twist there still, but I find it interesting, and you kind of brought this up before this, so maybe I'm leading into it a little too soon, but it's almost like Taskmaster has not just the skills of everybody, but incorporated with his equipment, he's got a little bit of everybody. Like he's got a shield like Captain America's. We've seen him have a bow and arrow like Hawkeye's, and you picked something else up in this too, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was kind of scouring the internet or whatever, and saw that someone zoomed in on his, what would it be, his right hand, and he looks like he had like claws like Black Panther.
Interesting.
So I'm thinking he got a hold of a video of some sort, like Peter Parker recorded it.
Maybe. I mean, he maybe have some sort of access to what's left of the Shield.
Well, Shield
database.
That's all open, right? Because Black Widow released all that to the public.
Right? So maybe that's a way they tie it into this too. Is it she kind of helped create this guy by releasing all of that information?
Yeah. So, but yeah, he looks badass. Like I think. Tony Mash is a name that can go either way.
Yeah, so, like you can have that as a guy or a girl, and famously, even as early or as close back as Captain Marvel, they changed the character of Marvel from man to woman. So gender bending, they like the Chosen One in Doctor Strange, they changed that as well. They don't really have a problem with doing that, and usually they do it in a way that fits the story.
Yeah, like I haven't had a problem with any of them so far. Marvel maybe a little bit, but. That's just
but you just don't like that
problem
movie.
With that movie. So
yeah,
it looked good. David Harbour, like I said, I would see almost anything with him.
Yeah,
I just realized that he was in Suicide Squad again, and that made Suicide Squad a little bit better in my book.
Almost tolerable. But yeah, so you see him as Red Guardian. So he's basically the Russian version of Captain America, and at this point, obviously, he's been out of the game for a while.
A little bit. He got a little water weight put on.
Just like the best.
I can relate.
Yeah, but so I think that's kind of interesting too. I think his attitude and stuff fits that well. We'll see if an entire movie of a Russian accent gets pulled off.
I think he's going to be very fatherly.
Yeah,
in it, like very protective. So, interested to see how that fight plays out between him and Taskmaster, because obviously that kick flip, of the shield is after that fight.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll see what happens there. Florence Pugh, I like her. So
I haven't seen her in a ton of stuff.
I've seen her in The Outlaw King, which was okay. I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't be like, go see it, but it's on Netflix, I think, if anyone's is interested.
Watchable, though?
Got Chris Pine in it, yeah.
Oh, that one.
Playing Robert the Bruce and all that, yeah.
Right.
And I really like fighting with my family, but that's because I'm kind of like wrestling too, right? So.
Yeah, I really wanted to see that when I first heard about it, and then I didn't hear great things about it. So this is something that's probably on the list to check out a little later. But by all accounts, she's a good actress.
Good actress. We'll see how the Russian accent holds up.
Again,
it seems like they kind of accents in
Russian's hard.
Well, the accents in Marvel tend to, as you can tell with Scarlet Witch, kind of tend to disappear over a certain period of time.
The Wakandan accents were good.
Well, and I mean,
like Black Panther, when you see him talk with his regular American voice, Chadwick Boseman, it feels wrong to this point now.
Fair enough. Well, and obviously, I think the widows are trained to speak with that with American accents, because
like I think they're meant to blend in.
That's why Natasha just speaks normal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not normal English accent, I guess.
Anything else?
No, that's about it. Just really looking forward to that movie.
Yeah, me too. That one getting
a long time coming.
May 2nd is when that one, or no, May 1st, sorry, is when that one comes out. In North America anyway, not sure about international release dates, but the next thing that we got during the Super Bowl was our first glimpse at the Marvel Disney Plus TV shows. And this was a short spot that had stuff from all 3 announced shows in it so far, all 3 shows that are currently in production. And we didn't get to see much, but what we saw looked really, really good.
Yeah, no, definitely really good.
The thing that jumped out to me first of all at this was this is movie quality. This looks like a movie.
I think they're short. Like I don't think they're even like 8 episodes.
I think
long.
They said 6.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be long. Like Mandalorian was only like half an hour episodes for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be like 45-minute episodes. So you're going to get 4 hours of show out of it.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks great. I mean, which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, okay, so it opens on a scene with Sam Wilson training with the Captain America shield. We see him throw it into a tree, which is just badass. So I guess kind of Falcon and Winter Soldier is where I wanted to start. I'm obviously super pumped about this because I love the Winter Soldier, and one of the things I really liked was the dynamic between those two characters in Captain America Civil War. It was almost like a sibling rivalry or fighting over the attention of Captain America. So I'm interested to see how those characters evolve. In there, we get glimpses of what might be a flashback to Sam Wilson's time in the army. We see a bunch of them jump out of a plane and in wingsuits and stuff like that. Yeah. Maybe that's kind of a predecessor to the Falcon program. And so maybe thought about that. Yeah. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of him with his old partner that they talked about.
Oh yeah.
There's also been
Riley.
Yeah. Riley, of course.
I don't know why I remember
famous
that,
comic book character Riley. Yeah. I wonder, we've seen pictures of different costumes now for both the Winter Soldier and there's been a picture released of Falcon in his comic book accurate costume of the more just red and white look, but very evident that he is not wearing a Captain America costume in this. Yeah. Or at least not starting in it. So it looks like there's going to be a power struggle between him, who's been kind of appointed from Steve Rogers' Captain America, into and struggling with the government, who obviously has brought in U.S. Agent. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, well, I'm not sold on U.S. Agent. I'm not sold on Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent. But
yeah, I think that's going to be interesting.
Not because I like Wyatt Russell, Zook.
Right. From 22 Jump Street.
Like I like him.
And he was in Overlord.
Overlord was really good.
What else has he been in? I can't. Anyway,
he just doesn't. They got to do something with his costume, because when he's got the helmet on, it looks like he's got no chin. He looks weird with the helmet off. I think it'll look.
But how often did we see Captain America in a helmet?
Quite a bit, actually.
I guess once they finally took the earpieces out, that famously Chris Evans hated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you see, there's a sequence in the trailer where he's walking onto a football field and high-fiving people and stuff, and like obviously they're building him up to be this public face and hero and stuff like that. I wonder if maybe there's going to be a little bit of a Homelander tinge to this, where he's maybe a little unhinged a bit, or maybe he's not the hero that everybody thinks.
Captain America, well known, disobeyed the Sokovia Accords.
Yes.
So this is probably going to be the version that supports the Sokovia Accords.
No, for sure.
So I think that, and obviously Sam is against it, and he's the appointed Captain America from Captain America. So that's obviously where I think the confrontation is going to come from.
Well, I mean, are we going to have Thunderbolt Ross come in and take the shield away from him, saying it's government property and that it needs to be, is that...
When does... This comes out after Black Widow, right?
Yeah, so this one, they had since, after this trailer, kind of released windows for when these are going to come out. Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're saying, is August.
Yeah, so I think Thunderbolts are going to be somewhat hinted at, if not introduced completely in Black Widow.
Yeah.
Or a version of them.
Kind of another team, whatever it ends up being. But
somehow flew under the radar until now or whatever. But,
interesting.
But I think that's going to happen. And then by all means, probably a Thunderbolts thing in the...
Interesting. Okay. And so in this too, we see a glimpse at Daniel Bruhl's returning character, Baron Zemo. And we've seen pictures and some stills of him actually getting the comic accurate purple mask and everything like that. I mean, by all accounts, he's good. Good performance in Captain America Civil War. Good to be seeing him and spending some more time with his character, I think.
Yeah. In regards to his costume, I think he's obviously, because everyone knows who he is now, so he's obviously, it's going to be, I think, used for like heists like once or twice. I don't think it's going to be something.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't cover up that guy's face too much.
Yeah.
But
I'm interested to see how they're both stories are going to intertwine and weave in with each other, because obviously one's like very political and one's just looks like Zemo got out.
Yeah, but what's his end game at this point now too? Because he was originally just trying to tear the Avengers apart.
Well, he still knows how to get control of Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but has that been taken away from the Wakandan stuff? Because that was the whole point of him being there.
Well, I mean, vibranium does do everything.
Yeah,
so it's
magic. He just drank some vibranium and now he's good. Yeah. But there was a tease that Sebastian Stan posted on Instagram, I think, or something like that, that had an allusion to White Wolf in it, which was his, which was a different character in the comics, was somebody that was adopted into the family of Black Panther, and became a hero called the White Wolf with similar powers. But that was the code name they used for him when he was stationed in Wakanda for his recovery and stuff like that. So maybe we're going to see some more of that. Maybe we'll get like some Black Panther cameos. Maybe we'll get Shuri in this.
I think Shuri more than you get Black Panther, because I think they're going to start pushing for, as you can kind of tell with like kind of the direction they're going with Marvel, is they've gone from the main Marvel heroes to now you're starting to get the females are starting to come in and take over, right? Like,
or maybe they lean more towards a Young Avengers type thing where they have Spider-Man and Shuri and some of the the Harley Keener or whatever, the kid from Iron Man 3.
I will agree with that if Wiccan and Speed, who we'll talk about soon, are actually brought into this universe. But yeah, I think they're just gearing towards that way where all the women are kind of like, what are they called? A-Force? I think they're really gearing towards an A-Force movie, which whatever.
They'd be silly not to.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain characters.
I notice you're making a very adamant point of being positive to this.
I mean, no, the reason is because like, we'll talk about this too, is like Captain Marvel has actually managed to find a way to get me interested in the next movie.
Yes, we will get to that.
So, but yeah, and She-Hulk is my favorite, probably one of my top favorite comic book characters.
That's true. So anything with the Hulk associated with it, you're into, and
smashing things. It's kind of I relate to it.
So that's kind of all for Falcon and Winter Soldier. We then see an interesting glimpse into WandaVision.
Super weird.
This looks it looks like it's going off the wall weird, which I am super into. We see glimpses to cutting to various eras of sitcoms and things like that. Obviously, we see the Vision back somehow in one of the areas, or one of the scenes in the trailer. We see a couple of cribs, bassinets, so alluding towards the twins that they had together in the comics that ended up not being real, but we'll get into that later. My original thing to this was, her almost becoming unhinged at the loss of Vision, and her powers sort of unlocking into this dimension warping, reality altering thing that she's using to cope with that and get to see him again and live lives with him. And then maybe that leads to the multiverse fracturing and Doctor Strange having to come save it in Multiverse of Madness. So almost setting up Wanda as like a almost villain in that, because we know she's going to appear in that, and maybe behind the scenes, another rumored Doctor Strange 2 villain, Nightmare, might be the one manipulating and pulling the strings behind her to push her further into this dimension warping area, which I think would be really interesting.
Yeah, well, I've got a little bit of a different take on it. What I think's going on there. First of all, like I said, it's really weird, but it's supposed to be.
I'm into that. I think that's
character.
Cool. Yeah. We see a glimpse of her comic accurate costume in this too.
Yeah,
and it almost looks like it's like a Halloween costume she's got on for some reason.
Yeah.
So
because there was obviously touches to I Love Lucy, Brady Bunch, Family Ties. Roseanne was in there, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, she had like the big curly hair and the suspenders.
They're all shows on ABC, right?
True. Hey, yeah, so, fair enough.
But they're time jumps. So like I Love Lucy's then they first get married, then the next one
different eras.
Yeah, right. She's pregnant, and then the year after that they have the kids, and then obviously the Roseanne one is like the kids are grown up, is what I'm assuming, because there's a kids art on the fridge.
Interesting. I hope so.
So what I'm thinking happens is I'm thinking some way, shape, or form is this is like a prison for Wanda in some way, shape, or form.
Interesting.
And I think not so much prison, but I think she's gone looking for Vision. I think Vision's got a soul of some sort. And I think what you're seeing is you gradually go from him being the what do they call the ghost, the silver version of him in the comics?
No, I lost it.
Anyways, he's got like very minimal personality in that version of him. So I think
he's far more robotic.
So I think the evolution of that is as she gets closer to bringing him back, he gains his color back.
Okay.
So that's what I think is going to happen.
And then at the end, we just see Paul Bettany as a human, maybe.
And I think whoever's got his soul trapped, whether it be if they go the route of if he's in hell or whatever, robot, whatever. But each era, the reason why they have to go to different eras is because she's breaking through and she's kind of cracking the facade of what's going on.
Yeah, and see, for me, I think I was almost going the more psychological illness route with her, where she's almost delusional, and every time she realizes that this isn't real, it jumps to something else.
Yeah.
Right? And almost like she wants to just convince herself that it is, and maybe... maybe she used to watch all of these shows and was into them in the past, and that's why she's crafting this life that she thinks is perfect or normal or whatever.
And I think it's going to create like a reverse House of M situation.
Yeah.
Where instead of all the mutants being gone, somehow she's going to create tons of mutants.
Interesting. Well, we need to find a way. I mean, we don't need to. They need to find a way to bring mutants into this. I mean, they could ask us if they want. Kevin Feige, we are available.
Cheap too.
Yeah, like I'll take a story writing credit on anything. Yeah. So anything else on WandaVision before we...
Just let me have a quick look. Yeah, no, I'm just...
well, we know some characters are coming back. Kat Dennings coming back. Ray Park's coming back.
And they're obviously what I think they're all going to be playing...
Their roles in these sitcoms. They're not going to be the exact same people that they were.
Like they're probably going to have...
But she's using people that she knows from the universe into these things. Like I can't help but think that this is her powers evolving and getting way out of her control.
But it's not even. Like I don't think she doesn't know... I can't remember the FBI agent.
Well, she might.
How?
Well...
They'd have to incorporate that.
Lived and worked at the Avengers facility for who knows how long before Civil War happened.
Yeah, but that guy was in
the FBI.
San Francisco.
Yeah, so
okay, just
dude, comic books. Everybody knows everybody,
and she's never met Kat Dennings' character.
Not that we know.
Darcy. Anyways,
maybe Darcy consulted on something with the Avengers.
Maybe so.
Kyle, stop this.
Sorry.
No, just kidding.
just I like things to make sense, not just be.
Well, then you are reading the wrong comic book.
I think honestly that show, like I'm going to watch it, but I think it's going to be something where I'm going to be like, I don't know if I buy this.
I like it. I'm interested. And then, okay, so the last thing they kind of showed in that was a sneak peek at the Loki series. So Loki,
surprisingly enough, to actually make some guesses as to what's going on.
Yeah, like there were some teases to it. They don't, obviously classic Marvel, they're not showing too much, but they're showing something. And we see Loki in what looks like a prison uniform. The logo on the edge of the uniform, I had to take a look back at a few times, but it looks almost like it says TVA, which may be something alluding to the Time Variance Authority, which is basically
time cops.
Yeah, the time cops. Essentially, it's an organization set up in the Marvel universe to police and prevent time travel and time manipulation. So obviously, this group may be angry at the Avengers for what they did, or maybe just angry at Loki because he's not technically supposed to be there. He's an offshoot of a timeline that wasn't supposed to happen. Because this version of Loki is the one that ends up with the Tesseract when they go back to classic Avengers New York and Avengers Endgame to try and get it. He uses it to teleport somewhere else, and then presumably hijinks ensues. I know me and you kind of talked about this and you didn't really like this, but in the comics, the Space Stone can be used to travel through space and time. So I'm thinking maybe Loki, this show starts with him traveling to different areas of time and messing with things and having historical impacts on historical events. And then maybe the Time Variance Authority catches him, and maybe this is him narrating that story from a prison cell. Or something like that, maybe he's Hannibal Lectering on himself here.
I don't like, because they've gone so far out of their way to establish these stones as their own individual thing and what they do. And I feel like if just kind of out of nowhere, the Space Stone can now start doing time stuff.
Yeah, but he's not,
because we've already got two ways of time travel already.
Yeah.
And I feel like just to being like, oh, by the way, the Space Stone can do it too now. It's kind of like, well, it kind of defeats the purpose of having to go and get the Time Stone in the Infinity War. And that whole battle on Titan is just kind of, well, you didn't really have to do that now, did you?
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But so I think what's going to happen is I think it's going to be all related to, I think they're going to associate Loki with the Avengers as to what happened with all the time travel. Yeah. And since he's got one of the stones, he's going to get caught up in it. And I think it's going to introduce Kang in some way, shape, or form, because the TVA in the comics is constantly trying to catch him. Yeah, and Kang, famously time traveling supervillain. He's a fairly well known villain of the Avengers, and we'll see how it goes. I'm really hoping. I don't think it's going to be the case. I think he's going to be a TVA agent, but I would love to see Owen Wilson as Kang. Right, because Owen Wilson is in this. Yeah, so that's another bit of news. Owen Wilson's been cast as what they call a major role in this. Yeah. So that I think it'd be a really weird take on Kang. But. So now we have potentially
Owen Wilson, and what's his name? Batman.
Pattinson?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe. God, that was bad. Yeah, maybe I'll cut that out.
No, you won't.
No, probably not. I think it's funnier if I don't. But, okay. Yeah, so very quick sneak peek at Loki, but maybe something on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So, you had a couple of more Marvel notes for us?
No, not necessarily. I just kind of touched base, like the Speed and Wiccan thing is really, I think,
who in the comics are the twins of Scarlet Witch and the Vision.
Yeah, who I think, and they're mutants. So,
well, in the comics, Scarlet Witch is a mutant. She is Magneto's daughter.
So yeah, so I think that's gonna be a big. The WandaVision Doctor Strange storyline is going to completely change.
Yeah, like that arc is,
of,
and that may be where, like you said, mutants get folded in. That may be where we see alternate reality versions of established characters.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you bring in a multiverse, as our name suggests, which also I guess makes us sound like a He-Man podcast, Masters of the Multiverse.
Anyway, sorry. Do these shows have single directors, or are they doing multiple directors?
Multiple directors.
Okay.
A la Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of wondering if they're going to go, because obviously Scott Derrickson had to leave.
Yeah, another bit of news. Scott Derrickson left Doctor Strange 2, and the widely assumed...
It's because he wanted to go way darker than Disney wanted to let him.
Well, and now the widely assumed person to be taking over is Sam Raimi, who famously directed the first 3 Spider-Man movies that we got with Tobey Maguire.
We'll just talk about the first 2.
The first 2. The third one doesn't exist.
First 3, actually, is horrible.
But anyway, so that's kind of interesting, too, to see that. I mean, I'm
excited to see Bruce Campbell in it.
Yeah, because he's famously a friend of Sam Raimi's and is in everything that he does. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of interesting things coming up that way.
It's kind of it's a cool little, because I was watching, obviously when this came up, I was watching people talk about it and stuff, and someone brought up a kind of a deep cut in Spider-Man 2 when they're trying to figure out what to call Dr. Octopus. And Sam Raimi's brother actually says, should we call him Doctor Strange? He's like, no, that's already taken. So it's kind of an interesting like I said, a deep cut, kind of how this might all relate a little bit. But
well, and there was an allusion to the fact that Morbius may be taking place in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man universe instead of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Tom Holland, because there's a Daily Bugle newspaper that we see that has the classic Daily Bugle logo on it, and not the dailybugle.net one that we saw in Spider-Man Far From Home.
I don't know. Like I said, I think there's something going on between the two that
I just hope
this multiverse thing is just going to completely...
I hope they're building to my live-action Spider-Verse movie.
It'd be cool.
I would love to see Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield on screen together, like just different versions of Peter Parker, right?
Yeah, no, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always cool to see stuff like that. Like even like in the Arrowverse when they did it with Batman, they brought Kevin Conroy in as Batman. Like it was,
and then we had 2 different versions of Superman in the same scene, and people loved it. And I think the animated movie Enter the Spider-Verse really opened Sony's eyes to that. They don't necessarily need to explain all of this, but they can do it.
A lot of it's just fan service. People just want to see it.
Yeah, and even the people that don't necessarily want to see it can still enjoy it.
Yeah. And I like Sam Raimi, just because he's got a little bit more. I think he's got a little bit more humor to his horror. Like Army of Darkness is one of the greatest movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
And even
because when you say like more humor, I take a look at the humor they tried to have in Spider-Man 3. And that terrifies me.
I don't think Spider-Man 3 was his fault. I think he was rushed into doing stuff, and like they really pressured him into getting Venom in that movie, which he wanted to do Venom, but he didn't want to do Venom that way.
No,
I think he's kind of gone on record.
Rushed him in, rushed him out. Like,
yeah. So that movie was just a cluster. But like Army of Darkness and Evil Dead, like are funny movies.
Yeah,
but they're scary, and I think that's why he's a good pick for the Marvel universe, because I feel like Scott Derrickson might have been like, no, I'm going horror with this. And I think that because I heard a rumor that he was like planning on taking him to hell, going to hell and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, this is Disney.
Well, and it would be interesting if you did that, because then you can factor in bringing back some villains that were one and done that we've talked about that we would like to see again.
Well, how supernatural are you going to go with it, right? Like,
and we got to think too, Mordo is going to be in this, and he's still going around stealing people's magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just going to move your microphone a little bit closer.
Yeah, like
we don't want to hear you breathe all the time, but we also do want to hear you talk.
I don't know if Mephisto's going to be in it. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think the running theory is that it's going to be Nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go to hell, you have to have Mephisto. Do you not?
Maybe.
I guess not.
Yeah,
but
I guess we'll see. Anything else in the news stuff, or should we move on to our big review of the week?
Well, the John Krasinski stuff.
Right. Yeah, so John Krasinski, obviously everybody's fan casting him as Reed Richards in this new Fantastic Four that they're going to do. It sounds like there's going to be mass riots if this doesn't happen, and he seems to agree with that.
Yeah, he basically said, they haven't talked to him, he said, but if they're considering him, they want them to keep considering him because he'd really like to do the role.
Well, and famously, so he was almost Captain America. Mm-hmm. He screen tested, he costume tested, and he was in contract negotiations because they had offered the role to Christopher Evans a couple times, and he said no a couple times. And so there's a story that John Krasinski was saying that when he was in his costume testing, he got the costume on, he felt pretty good, and then Chris Hemsworth walked by him in his full Thor gear because they were filming Thor, and he just turned around and was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to get this." But so obviously he's been on Marvel's radar for a little while. We know he's a good actor. We know he's a good director. I talked in the 2020 preview about how I'd love to see him play Reed Richards and his wife Emily Blunt play Sue Storm, and it sounds like they're both somewhat interested in that. Apparently Emily Blunt's been in talking to Marvel multiple times. She was also tapped to maybe play Black Widow at one point before Scarlett Johansson was into it, so they have a history with it. I think that John Krasinski would bring a good blend of humor, but I also think, for people that don't know, Reed Richards in the comics is a giant asshole. This guy sucks if you've seen any extended amounts of the Fantastic Four comics. So I think he could kind of be that a little cockier, little more arrogant side if he needed to, but also bring some humor to it and stuff. And
I'm just picturing that meme where he's just sitting there with his lips closed all the time. He's just doing that the whole movie when people are talking to him.
Or he keeps looking at the camera and shrugging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pretty interesting there. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. I hope that's who goes that route. I mean,
and I would love to see some Fantastic Four, right? I think Marvel would do a good job with it. I think that it's long overdue to have that involved.
Feige kind of went out there and said that they're focusing on Fantastic Four before the X-Men anyways.
And that I think is good because we've had a lot less Fantastic Four and far less good Fantastic Four than we've had of X-Men stuff. Let the mutants breathe a little bit. We had Logan. We've got Deadpool that'll carry on a bit, obviously in some way, shape, or form. But let that breathe a little bit and get a little bit of separation before they start rebooting that stuff. And they can start with Fantastic Four and maybe bring in Doctor Doom or something. All of them rumored to make an appearance possibly in Black Panther 2.
I think it leaves Doctor Doom out of it for a while too. I think he should be more. I'd bring in they're already doing cosmic and microverses and bring in Annihilus.
Annihilus would be a really good one
because Doctor Doom's been done 3 times now and not great.
Galactus would be cool too.
Well, I think
Galactus a good version of Galactus,
bad
guy. Like a Thanos-esque phase bad guy kind of thing.
Maybe. I mean, I don't, because the thing is, he's a rather simple character though too, right? He
devours worlds.
Yeah, it's not like he's gonna have this big game plan that he's got to go to Earth and he's just gonna be like, oh, where's Earth?
I'm gonna go eat it. Yeah, there's not a lot of motivation, but you can always change that too, right? They've done some radical character departures in Ego being a Celestial and wanting to take over the world and whatever else. So interesting stuff on the horizon for Marvel movies. Also, I guess, or sorry, did you have anything else?
The one thing, like I said, I mentioned earlier that Captain Marvel managed to lure me in and bait me in a little bit, and that's they're talking about the first mutant that's actually going to be introduced in the MCU is going to be in her movie, and it's going to be Rogue.
Yeah, in Captain Marvel 2. And famously, Rogue actually ended up stealing Captain Marvel's powers for a little while,
her up too. And
also having Captain Marvel live inside her head for a long time. And so it was interesting. I mean, we all know Rogue from the X-Men movies as someone who can steal powers, but in the comics, she basically has a lot of similar powers to Captain Marvel. She can fly, she's super strong, and a lot of that was because she
got her hands on her.
Got her hands on Captain Marvel for too long and had her incorporated into her. So, yeah, I think they're going to find a good way to bring mutants in. They've done a lot of fantastic character introductions. I have faith in it. I'm personally a little more interested in Fantastic Four at this point, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that when I heard that's because I've talked about this with you before, how I would love to see, how do you have Captain Marvel without a rogue?
Yeah.
Like I've had this discussion long time ago,
and
it is by far the easiest way to introduce, maybe not introduce, but show that mutants are an actual problem.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean,
by taking down the strongest.
Yeah. One of the strongest characters in the whole universe, right? And stuff like that.
Walks up and basically gets her hands on her, and that's that.
Well, and you could also even do this too as something that's not necessarily set right now. She could have encountered Rogue in between now and when we first saw her introduced. So you can manipulate the timeline a little bit and stuff that way, and maybe mutants have been hiding in this universe for longer than we think.
As in like in between like her movie and now so Rogue has existed somewhere already? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So one other thing, are we done with the Marvel news for now?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, obviously, the movie The Batman is officially underway in production. Robert Pattinson famously now going to play Batman.
Don't they have like 15 villains in that movie? I haven't really
at least
much attention to it. Yeah.
Colin Farrell is going to be Penguin.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that guy, like when I first think of the Penguin, obviously my first thought goes to Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty iconic.
And then I remember that in Gotham. I can't remember his name, but the guy who played Penguin was awesome. And
he was really good.
Like Danny DeVito or the comic book.
There's room for different characterizations on this stuff, and Colin Farrell's a good actor. But I bring up DC to kind of segue us into our review of the week is for the brand new DC movie, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, which rivals our podcast for worst title ever. No, but so long and wordy and kind of follows the same sort of track that Harley Quinn does in this universe. So a little bit of background on this movie. After making Suicide Squad, obviously that movie wasn't received super, super well, but everybody did kind of like Margot Robbie's depiction of Harley Quinn, and she's a good actress and everything, and then she kind of took the lead on developing and producing this movie, where she wanted to bring in some female characters and tell a story, and shockingly enough, it kind of works. Debatable, but yeah, so... a little bit of background from the comics. The Birds of Prey is a primarily female team. There has been some male members, and I'll get to that in a minute, but primarily a female team that was originally consisting of Black Canary, Renee Montoya / The Question, when she took on that persona to hide her identity, and Huntress. And this team was kind of led by Barbara Gordon as Oracle, after she had been paralyzed by the Joker and kind of took control of leading everything from behind the scenes. It kind of started as originally in the comics as a partnership between Oracle and Black Canary. And then Huntress was recruited later on when the Black Canary was kidnapped. So that's kind of how they all met through there. And then obviously Renee Montoya, being a detective with the Gotham City Police Department, got involved that way as well. Also included people like Lady Blackhawk, Hawk, and Dove were both included in this as well, which is interesting because obviously Hawk is a guy, and he's been the one male addition to this team at one point. In the rebooted New 52 continuity has included people like Katana, Batgirl herself, and a character named Starling.
Cool.
Yeah. So this movie obviously is a pretty wild departure from the comics as far as that goes, but it is a bit of an origin story for that kind of team. So why don't you give us a bit of a quick overview of what the plot was, and we'll talk a little bit without spoilers, and then we'll go into the ending and other things.
Basically, Harley Quinn the Joker breaks up with her, I guess.
It was mutual from what she said.
And everyone, now that she's basically doesn't have the immunity of the Joker, because everyone's obviously terrified of the Joker, I guess. Now they all want to kill her, and everyone's going after her. So basically, that's the main kind of story.
Yeah, that's line. The A plot, basically.
And then you kind of obviously the other characters kind of meet up and join in some way or get tied into it over the MacGuffin, which is a diamond.
Yes. So the diamond is famously owned by the Bertinelli crime family, which is what brings Huntress into the fold.
Which it's the diamond itself isn't the expensive thing; it's the codes inside the diamond.
Yes,
the expensive. It's a really
there are bank
complex
codes
MacGuffin.
laser engraved into the molecular structure of a diamond.
Yes,
which is fittingly
instead of just saying this diamond was worth like
absolutely ridiculous.
But
whatever it is, I mean, it's obviously a device to get the characters together. Overall, what did you think of this one?
Well, if I was to go from this, like, the trailers, I thought this was going to be the worst bloody movie.
Yeah, you didn't even want to see it. I had to drag you to this thing.
At all. I just thought it was going to be horrible. And yeah, I was wrong. It was actually pretty good. I actually quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's like a great movie, but it's definitely worth going to see.
Yeah, it's entertaining first and foremost. I think that's one thing to say about it, which it sucks that we have to point that out, but a lot of the DC movies haven't been. This isn't a DC movie that tries to shoehorn in too much.
It's rated R too.
Yeah, and it's rated so there's swearing, there's blood. There's a lot of things to like about this movie overall. I think it's really well acted. Margot Robbie's great. The rest of the Birds of Prey are all really good. Ewan McGregor plays Black Mask in this, and I think he's fantastic. We get a version of Victor Zsasz in this, which is kind of his lead henchman, which is also played really well, I think. Interestingly, maybe not, I guess you would say. But yeah, so overall, I think it's really well acted. The fight choreography was really good and inventive. And there was
80% of it was.
Yeah, fair enough. There was some humor to it. It told a decent story, and overall, yeah, like I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised by this.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of listed what I didn't like.
Are we going into spoilers now that we've talked?
No, not really. I don't really have.
I
got some pretty but I mean, if I do spoil it, well, sucks for you. But yeah, so like obviously we talked about the acting I thought was great.
Yeah,
for all of them.
Yeah.
Except for Montoya. I'm not sold on Montoya.
Yeah, the character of Montoya in general, I didn't.
It just seemed like it was a mother character that was just out of place.
Yeah,
and
so Montoya is the cop that kind of becomes part of the team, but she's played by an older actress and famously still kind of like that in the comics too a little bit, but it just didn't really land with me
I think
too much.
They tried to make you realize that she was a tough girl by how she handled Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Because obviously Harley Quinn just finished beating the wheels off like 30 guys.
We'll get there.
And then Montoya walks in and kind of drunk and kind of handles her business with her, right? So, but it just didn't land with me. But anyways, Margot Robbie I thought was fantastic. I think like the little nuanced stuff that she does, like when she smashed the controls.
Yeah.
Just out of like frustration was really good.
She seems to understand the character.
Yeah.
And like it. Like she seems to want to bring that character to life in an accurate way.
She makes the chaos look good. Like it's kind of like the one part that really stood out for me too. The real minor thing was when she caused a car crash, but it was an accident.
Yeah.
But she was just like,
She does a good job at being like mentally unhinged.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Journey Smollett-Bell, I thought she was actually really good.
And that's Black Canary.
Yeah, I've seen her in a couple of other things, and I've never really liked her. Like I saw her in Friday Night Lights and Gridiron Gang. She was younger, obviously. In these, but
so she plays the Dinah Lance version of Black Canary.
Yeah, I definitely liked kind of her portrayal of it. There's a brief moment in there where like it just seems like their personalities just changed for like 5 seconds, like it was just like a blooper reel that they just threw in there. It was kind of weird. But yeah, I thought that was good. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I've liked her since Sky High. Like I think I've liked her in almost everything she's done.
She plays Huntress.
Yeah, I think she's an underrated actress or crossbow killer.
Sorry, crossbow killer. So I thought it was really interesting how she was as a young child. In this, she was traumatized by something, and then she kind of went to live away and become an assassin. But then you see how awkward she is. Awkward. She's very socially awkward.
Just like the fist bump and the forced fist bump. Like
and like she doesn't know a lot about humor. She's very quick to anger, and like it's all very interesting, but really convincingly acted.
Yeah, really well done. I really enjoyed it
because you almost run the risk of turning yourself into a cartoon character when you play like that. But she actually.
That segues nicely into what Ewan McGregor did.
Yes,
because Ewan McGregor was so
as
over the top.
As Black Mask was over the top, but still kind of sold it.
So over the top, but it's been so long since we've had an over the top bad guy.
Yeah.
Because they focus so much on all these movies on not having these
like
ridiculous,
realistic, grounded. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you get this crazy, manic. It seems like he's out of control. Like
bipolar.
Yeah. And he just plays it so well. And his something about his American accent is just, it sounds really neat to me. I don't know what it is.
And I thought he was the source of a lot of comedy too. Like there's a point where he's showing Black Canary around his apartment, and it's just very funny the way he talks. So I have these shrunken heads. Aren't they weird?
The dark humor in it. Like, cause that's one thing I was talking to actually my roommate, and I was saying how it's not selling many tickets, and I think it has a lot to do with it being R-rated. Because she's like, "Don't kids want to see this? Don't people want to take their kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, you can't."
And that's not what this is.
And because like the one thing that made me laugh outright loud was one, how the movie ended, which we'll discuss later.
Yeah,
because he shouldn't have laughed, but I laughed. But also when Snot Bubble.
Yeah,
Snot Bubble.
The Snot Bubble part was very interesting,
and it was so dark and so not a thing to be laughing at, but it was so funny.
No, and okay, so I had something to say real quick. Anyway, sorry, go
on. But yeah, he was just over the top and just great.
I liked it. Awesome. I mean, I think he's a very good actor. I think he brought, like I said, some humor to it. Like there's a part where he really starts to go unhinged, where you see him at the club and he makes that person at the club dance on the table and rip her dress off and stuff. And like he's scary.
Yeah. See, like I think they did it on purpose.
It was unsettling
because it's not, because like the portrayals that I've always seen of the Black Mask is he's gangster. He's just kind of like in control gangster. This was I got very Jokerish vibes.
Well, and I think that was done on purpose.
Yeah.
Because she ends up, kind of like Harley Quinn ends up following him a little bit and then realizing, no, this is just the exact same thing. And I don't need to do this.
So, but yeah, no, I thought the acting in general was just great.
Yeah.
Zaz, I didn't mind the portrayal. I don't know. I don't know what I expect from Zaz, because I really like the Gotham Zaz, but that's not really what I want Zaz to be either.
No. And I think it's hard because he doesn't have a lot of character development in anything, because he's always kind of a bit of a B villain and stuff. And in this, he's played, the only other thing I've seen this guy do was in the Mindy Project. You ever watch that? It's not that show. A very medium show, but that's the only other thing I've seen him in, and obviously it's far, far different than this. But I thought it was interesting. I liked how there was like a bit of a like sexual tension between him and Black Mask, Roman Sionis kind of thing. Like I think he almost like was in love with him, and that was maybe unrequited or something like that.
I got kind of that thing, like who Black Mask was just kind of down for whatever.
Yeah. And Zaz seemed to kind of really be into it and stuff like that. But yeah, no, so acting, thumbs up.
Yeah. Really loved the music and the score. I thought it was really great.
It was good. And a lot of this stuff was original stuff made for this movie.
There was a version of Hit Me With Your Best Shot that was like a super slowed down version.
Yeah.
And I really liked that.
Well, and usually they do that kind of thing for dramatic effect in trailers. But this was actually in the movie, so that was kind of cool.
That's one thing I've noticed in a lot of trailers now is the scores are just ridiculously good. Like the Black Widow score for the trailers were crazy good. But yeah, that's it. Like, so overall, I like the settings too. Like I liked the dining room or the breakfast scene where he's walking around. I really liked the setup of the club with the hands that were holding the eyes.
Yeah.
Just, it was just really, I liked most of this movie. So it's, like if I was to give it like say out of a 10 or something.
Well, I don't know if we want to like rate things out of 10. So my idea was
I'm just saying, cause I can't really say.
Yeah.
Like I would say this is like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Like medium, middle of the road. So as far as my rating scale, good movie, bad movie, or just a movie, this would fall into the just a movie category for you?
Yeah, I know. I don't try not to rate movies, because there's movies that I really like that are absolutely dog shit.
Yeah, like really. Yeah, fair enough.
But then there's the things that I don't like. Cassandra Cain was completely wasted.
Yeah, and in Cassandra Cain in the comics becomes a version of Batgirl. In this, she's a young pickpocket. So let's just go say, hey, we're gonna start spoiling stuff now, because there's stuff I want to talk about too. But yeah, so Cassandra Cain in this is a pickpocket who ends up with the the Bertinelli crime family diamond, and that's kind of how she gets brought into this.
And like just like she's constipated. And it's not.
There wasn't much for this character.
We're talking about a character that becomes one of the most badass versions of Batgirl.
Yeah.
And she still might, but I mean, this was just like...
And this character could have been anything. You didn't have to... So she was... They named her Cassandra Cain. She was in no way Cassandra Cain to me.
Yeah.
So,
They could have just had a young girl.
Yeah. Any young girl. Yeah. So I mean, this one of the things that I both liked and disliked about this movie. This was it really started with a lot of non-linear storytelling. There was a lot of jumping around and a lot of different times, and you see things from different people's perspectives. And I think that was cool, but I can see how some people might get lost in that.
Immediately when I first, like when she walked into the police station, I was just like, wait, how what?
Yeah. So there's a sequence where she goes into the police station with all of this non-lethal weaponry. So she's got like a beanbag gun and it shoots like blue and red smoke, and there's a confetti cannon part of it as well. I thought that was super well done. Mm-hmm. Like it was well choreographed. Harley Quinn in this fights in a way that you can believe that she could take down a grown man or a grown police officer. She doesn't just overpower people, but she uses things like leverage and surprise and gadgets and
giant baseball bat
and a giant baseball bat, stuff like that. And I think that was kind of cool to make it in a way, like make it believable in a way that she could fight these people. But the police station scene I thought was really, really cool. She's shooting around confetti. People are flipping. There's smoke going everywhere.
That scene where she walks through the smoke and then matches her hair and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of just it's a neat look, isn't it?
And then there's a part near the end of that sequence. So it's like 2.5 or 3 action sequences that kind of blend together. There's her busting into the police station. She then goes from the main police station area to the holding cell area, and the sprinklers turn on, and she ends up fighting a bunch of released inmates, which I thought was really well done. Mm-hmm. And then that sort of transitions back into the evidence room where she gets fighting a bunch of other mercenaries.
Really, really high.
Yeah. And so, she ends up, a bunch of cocaine gets blown into the air and she sniffs it up.
Which she then proceeds to smash the other guys with, so they get the same dose of cocaine, but it doesn't have the same effect on them.
It's because they're knocked out.
Yeah, well, the one maybe.
They're done. With it, but yeah, so like that was kind of either like one long broken up action sequence that I thought was really well done, but or kind of parts of 3 different ones. But the choreography, like I said, I thought was really good. For the most part. There's a bit in the final battle sequence where it kind of fell apart.
There's just too much going on. Like there was no balance in the last one.
Yeah, there was a lot.
There was just like moving platforms, and you could see that the actors and the stunt people were actually struggling to do what they were trying to do.
So yeah, famously, I mean, I guess in this movie, Harley Quinn ends up with Cassandra Cain and the Diamond, and Black Mask Roman Sionis basically puts out this $500,000 bounty on her head. So every single bounty hunter, mercenary person in all of Gotham is after these two. Mm-hmm. And they all end up at this abandoned amusement park that Harley and the Joker used to hang out at, much mimicking in the comics Amusement Mile. Mm-hmm. And that's where kind of the final showdown takes place. And that leads into one thing I didn't really like was, like the ending sequence was just kind of very scattered and hard to follow.
It was just kind of, I think it was almost amplified that it was hard to follow by the fact that they forgot that Black Mask was standing outside there with men.
Yeah, and they bust out of it finally.
Like, yeah.
And Black Mask just shoots one of them because of course he does.
It's like,
but and it took us so long to see a canary cry, but when it happened, it was good.
It was good. It still feels weird because it's not. It just like I know the character, so I know she can do it.
Yeah, but
it's still like the fact that there's just no hint that it should. I mean, I guess they did the cup vibrating a bit, but no other character.
Well, the cup shattered,
powers,
didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt a little out of place, just having one metahuman out of just kind of.
Well, and in the police station, there's an allusion to Captain Boomerang with a wanted poster up on the wall.
Yeah,
which I thought was just kind of a cool allusion to the fact that this is kind of the same as a Suicide Squad, and she references it herself too. Yeah, when she talks about how you have to do all these things to become her. You'd have to break out or go out of prison with a bomb in your neck and save the world.
Yeah. It was good. The end was kind of Gong Show-ish, to an extent, but like the roller skating scene, even though it's completely not unrealistic, was, I thought, brilliant.
Yeah, it was neat. And so, I mean, the ending is really the only part where we see the Birds of Prey team up, and Harley's part of it, and they all team up to save this kid and stuff. I thought it was kind of almost like a fun jab at the Avengers, that like after everything's done, she goes, "Oh, you guys want to go get tacos?"
Yeah.
And then they go sit down in this taco restaurant and start eating and stuff like that, right? So thought that was a little bit interesting. And then too, so we see at the end of this movie, the Birds of Prey team is formed with Montoya, Black Canary, and Huntress. but Harley Quinn does not stick around to be part of that. Her and Cassandra Cain break off and do
be.
their own things, because she was never part of it in the comics, but this does kind of facilitate a way of having the team be created and then her not be part of it.
I think they very much should have, with the fact that first of all, the title of the movie was Birds of Prey, so they're very much
not the focus of the movie.
There should have been some sort of hint towards at least a Gordon.
Yeah, Barbara Gordon or Jim Gordon or anything.
I think a scene in the police station where Harley Quinn just sees Barbara, when she's doing a rampage, sees Barbara Gordon rolling around saying, "Hey, nice to see you're up and moving."
Yeah.
Something, because it's a rated R movie. So
it is, yeah. So you I guess you can make a joke about someone.
You don't even have to mention a name. You just have a redhead rolling away. And, and it's just something, because...
Yeah, because in the comics, she's always part of the team. She's kind of the leader of the team.
The reason the team exists.
She's the backbone of the team.
Yeah. So there should have been some hint either
joke.
that a Gordon existed in it.
Fair enough.
Because now they've just got Montoya, I guess, is their
I don't
connection.
Even know.
And like I said, I didn't really like Montoya. Like, I mean, if they do the movie again, I feel like especially with the reaction that this movie's actually getting, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, so positive reaction, bad numbers.
Yeah.
People that see this movie like it. Not a lot of people have seen it. Yeah, box office numbers are quite low. They say it's going to be as low as any of the other DC movies.
It was predicted to be 50 million opening night. I think it was like 32 or something.
I think they're at like 34 or something like that. But, which is kind of a shame, because I finally feel like the DC movies like this is an improvement on the DC movies, and they're finally starting to get some traction in the way they want to tell stories and what they can do with their characters. And now people are out of it because they've just been burned too many times.
I think what happened too with this is, with it being rated R, is I think they actually lost quite a bit of their audience that could have been brought in by a Harley Quinn movie.
Maybe.
Younger girls, younger women.
I don't know. I don't see being rated R as really holding things back a lot.
The fact that you can't get in the movie.
Well, no, I get that, but I mean, you can go with someone that's older, and I mean, we've all seen rated R movies before.
But comic books from the day, the only reason I'm into comic books, I got into comic books when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So you got a movie about Harley Quinn, who's a very comical character. She's everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're trying to introduce a Birds of Prey movie of characters that nobody knows anything about, really.
Yeah, and you're not really reaching out to the widest audience.
And you're going to throw it out there as an R-rated movie. You're really narrowing the audience that's going to be able to see this movie.
That's fair. Anything else to say about this one? Like, overall?
They wasted Black Mask.
Yeah, so Black Mask dies at the end in very gory fashion. Actually gets blown apart by a grenade.
It made me laugh.
It's funny. It's interesting. But yeah, it's another one and done villain situation where they take out an interesting villain. But if they want to bring someone like this back, they just bring a version of the Joker in.
Yeah, but I mean, he put on the Black Mask, which is cool
for 5 minutes.
But like, Black Mask it's seared to his face.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, instead of seeing him die, to have it, be him in an explosion. The mask gets fused to his face.
Kind of like a Crossbones thing, where it's kind of like he just gets hit by the explosion and the heat melts it to his face or something.
Yeah, would have been interesting.
But it would have left it so you didn't have to bring him back. But if you did bring him back, you had the real Black Mask.
Yeah.
But no, you blew him into 8 different pieces, and he's shark food now.
Yeah, that. We were literally sitting in the theater, and you go, "Did he just blow up?" There was a weird dance sequence in the middle that I didn't really like. Black Mask hits Harley Quinn, and she kind of hallucinates this big, what kind of dance? The jazzy.
It was a Marilyn Monroe movie.
Yeah,
Diamonds Are Forever was the song, I think.
Yeah, and it didn't hit with me.
It didn't hit with me initially, and I still don't like it, but I understand. I've watched a few people comment about this part, and that context of it, like, it's Harley Quinn's mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're talking about diamonds, and she thinks she's this glamorous take, so that's where she went with her coming up with the idea of how she's going to do it or whatever.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts of this movie, Bruce the hyena.
Yeah,
I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
You can hear him laughing in the background of a couple scenes at Harley Quinn's apartment, which was interesting. In the comics,
Gotham's really hard up for nice guys.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of bad people.
There's not very many nice.
I kind of liked how they had like the different people coming after her, and the grievances come up on screen, and then they went through like a stack of them for Black Mask and stuff like that. I'd be interested to take a little bit more time and see what some of those really were. But in the comics, Harley Quinn famously has 2 hyenas. We only got one. Womp womp.
That I thought died.
Yeah, but ended up making it, so that's good. Overall, this one was a fairly entertaining movie. I'd say it's worth a watch, but maybe don't rush out to see it. Unless you want to see these characters again, because if you do, you should go see it.
I think you should go see it.
I think this is one of the better DC movies out there.
Yeah, it definitely, I think it is. It's got some Deadpool vibes to it. It's got it definitely. I would recommend going to the theater and watching it.
Cool.
I think watching it in like 4D or that 3D or whatever they've got, that new 4D, I think would be even greater because like
well, I don't even think this one was shot in 3D because even when I went on opening night, there were no 3D glasses or anything like that.
Because it should have been, because there's a few scenes in there.
There's some just graphic stuff.
Like the Ace Chemicals part.
Yeah,
like
the Ace Chemicals explosion was great.
But
I really liked how there was like a cartoon opening sequence, kind of telling a Harley Quinn origin story. I thought that was fun. But yeah, overall, I liked it. I think people should see it. If you guys are a fan of comics or anything like that, this is one that's definitely entertaining and doesn't leave you near as frustrated as most DC movies have lately.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say go see it for sure.
Cool. So we're about at an hour now, so we'll probably start wrapping up soon. Is there anything this week that you've been watching or gonna watch, been reading, gonna read, anything that you're looking forward to or anything coming up?
Nothing particularly coming up right now. I just found out that Fifth Element is on Netflix, so I'm gonna be watching that one.
Oh man, that Bruce Willis. And that's a good movie. It always, when I was a kid, it was always on TV. It's like that and Shawshank Redemption are on TV like once every couple of weeks. And it's one of those ones that when I flip by and see it, I leave it on and I watch it. So Fifth Element's a good movie. I've been watching through, talked with you about this, through another DC Comics property. Lucifer is on Netflix.
The new season?
No,
oh, you're just
I've been getting caught up on it because I was introduced to that character in the Crisis on Infinite Earth scene when Constantine goes to make a deal with him.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good show.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I like it. Like I'm into the fourth season now, and that's
the devil. So
I know, right?
You're against that, then don't.
Well, I like how they factor in a lot of the heaven and hell lore and stuff like that, but not too heavy-handed all the time, and always a little bit of a twist on it. And I'm always kind of excited to see what comes next through that.
And like what hell is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
His throne in hell is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Yeah. Like,
I've basically just a tall pillar that just overlooks
and he just
nothing.
Sits there and watches. He literally just has to be there.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting for me.
I hope they bring Constantine into the last season.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Twist.
They've cast somebody as God in the final season.
Oh, really? Because they had his mom in there a few seasons ago.
Yeah, and they've had in one of the extra episodes of season 3, before they knew they were going to get a season 4, they released a couple of unreleased episodes at the end of the season, and they had a narration from God in one of them. But I think this is going to be a different person.
His dad was in it at one point. Yeah, he was in a mental asylum.
Oh, that one. But it wasn't really.
Well, it was.
He was like.
It was his. Yeah, like because he tried to get him and his mom together.
Yeah, but he had like it was
some sort of medallion or some sort of
belt buckle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, ended up being a piece of the flaming sword that he somehow created a new reality with.
Yeah, I can't remember.
This show's bananas.
Yeah, it's actually, it's really good. I really like that show.
And then also, so there's another Darth Vader comic that recently started that kind of details some time in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which I think is
it called?
Interesting. I think it's just called Darth Vader, which is the same as the other 2 comics that have started with that. But
it won't be hard to differentiate between the other ones.
There's also a Rise of Kylo Ren comic that's been releasing.
Not interested.
Yeah, fair enough. But I like it because it talks about how he broke away from...
It's funny. I just typed in Darth, and it actually came back as father.
There you go.
Because Darth Vader means Dark Father, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Anything else that you're going to be getting into over the next week?
I think I'm going to check out this comic book you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You should read the other Darth Vader comics first. There's 2 other comic runs. One of them is set right after Return of the Sith. And it's...
I've seen that. I've read that
super good. You've read the whole thing?
I've read that one,
super good.
Yeah.
Super good.
That I'm going to catch up on.
About that
I'm
one,
going to catch up on Flash, I think.
Yeah, I just actually watched the first post-crisis episode of it. It's on Netflix. Pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the post-crisis stuff except for the final episode of
I haven't
Arrow.
finished watching Crisis yet, and I haven't watched the final episode of Arrow yet. Because if I don't watch it, it never happened.
But yeah, no, that'll be about it. I'm pretty busy this week, so
yeah,
my God, I won't have a lot of time for catching up on this stuff. But
yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right, everybody. So that's another episode. Thanks for joining us for another week of Masters of the Multiverse. If you guys do enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe on whatever you're listening to us on. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on iHeartRadio. We're on just about everything at this point. TuneIn, which apparently is an Amazon version that you can play on Alexa. We're on that. We're everywhere. So, and if you want to support the show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend, get them to listen to it too. Write us a review or leave a comment on our page on any of the podcast hosting sites would be fantastic. And give us some feedback. We have an email address at mastersofthemultiversepod@gmail.com. Make sure you write in with any feedback, any suggestions for future episodes, and anything that you guys want to hear about. Anything else you got, Kyle?
No, sounds good.
You guys heard my original rendition of a podcast theme song, so if anybody has a better idea or wants to make us one, make sure you send it over to
email. At the beginning?
Podcast.
Yeah, I didn't know that was an actual thing. I thought I didn't even know we were recording. I thought you were just doing something stupid. Well, you were, but
thanks everybody for another week, and we will talk to you again out in the multiverse.
All right, see ya.